Hey everybody, it's Lynn from A Bit of Birdsong, and I've been wanting to show you how I do my shadow boxes, and it's the same way that I made the altar for my grandmother, and I will link the video of the altar. I'm using part of a priority mailbox that I had. I like to reuse things if I can, and that includes packaging. So what I did was I cut the flaps off on each side, and then I glued the two sides together to make it double thickness. So I've got this from one side of the box, and then I cut the same thing from the other side. And the next thing I'm going to do is cover this in fabric, and I think I want to make something with this very pretty flannel with the skulls. I have quite a bit of this fabric, and I want to go ahead and use some of it. So I'm going to cover this box, mostly just the front. We need enough to wrap around in the back. And let's see, I think about right here. The flannel normally tears pretty easily. I want enough to wrap around, enough that it's really going to catch and not be just slipping right back around the edge. That looks pretty good. All right. So let's turn it over this way. I flipped the box so I wasn't showing any kind of information that I don't want to have on camera. And I don't know, I'm wondering if we want to cut the corners a little bit so that it doesn't bunch up any. Sorry, I just kind of trailed off. I'm just thinking about how I want to attach this, and there are so many different things we can do to make this work. I love this fabric. I absolutely love this fabric. I am going to go ahead and I don't know, I'm just afraid cutting at the edge is going to make the box show. We could put little metal corners on it though, that would be fun. What's under there? A little bead. And this doesn't have to be perfect, for goodness sakes. This is going to be a shadow box made from recycled materials or recyclable materials. We are repurposing, reusing, reducing, upcycling. I think that's going to be fine. We just, don't want a big, bulky bunch of fabric up in the corners. I knew that shouldn't be there. I was thinking, wait a minute, we're going to be folding that, and it should be an angle. Something else that I'm going to do is see if I can get that staple to go through. Go in as far as I can. Can't tell if it's going all the way through. I think it's going far enough for right now. And let me explain why this is okay. We're going to be gluing boxes on the front here, so you're not going to see these staples. That's going to be so pretty. I'm going to do sort of a gothic, creepy. It's going to be really pretty. So let's put some glue right here. So let's fold that over, and this, and bring this in. I think it's better going from this side. Okay, I can feel those staples coming through, but we're going to glue some boxes over that. This is going to be what our shadow box is sitting on. Now let me get my boxes. All right, let's bring our boxes over. We have a variety of boxes, different sizes and shapes, and I do like to sometimes use unusual shapes. We just find a way to fit those in. We've got, this one's interesting because it has ended up sort of flat on one side. I don't think it's supposed to be that way, but it is. And you can just start placing your boxes. And I've been collecting boxes for a little while, just when I see them at the thrift store or whatever. I'm gonna have to sit this up a little bit so I can see better what is happening with the boxes. You can keep adding to it. You can probably already see that this gives you, I don't know if I want that behind there or not, maybe to make it stronger. We don't really need these lids. This is just a beautiful lid that I thought we might be able to incorporate. I love that it's got that butterfly on it, which kind of ties in with the creepy, witchy sort of vibe. So this takes up a lot of the box, and things are staggered around. We could come back later and add some extra ones if we want to. See how we can keep adding. I don't think I want to use this one, but if we had a smaller box over here, I do like that. So now that everything is sort of in place, and one of the things I'm thinking about is being able to come back with an awl and punch holes in here to somehow tie some sort of string through it, or ribbon or cord, whether it's gonna, we may have knots that we tie on the front if we use a big twine or something and let it run across the back. We need a way to be able to hang it. So we're gonna start putting glue on the backs. And I'm gonna start at the bottom. I'm gonna set that down exactly where we had it. And then we're gonna do this one. I use a lot of tacky glue. And now for this one, I'm gonna put a little bit right there on the side where it's gonna sit next to this oval one. And something that I've noticed, the oval is shorter, so I didn't need to come all the way out with the glue, but that's okay. I'm gonna put a little bit of glue on the side over here. Now with this one, we're gonna do something fun behind here. So I wanna leave enough space for the lid to go back on here, which means when I glue this one down, I'm gonna have to leave a little bit of space. It's not gonna be butting up against the the little square one, exactly, because I want space to come back and put this on, and that looks just about right. Now let's move right on up and glue this one down. This is such a fun project, and you can do all different kinds of themes. I'll try to remember at the end to show you one that I've got out here that's all sorts of like office supplies and old ink bottles and stuff. So this one, let's put right here. And what we could have done, I'm just gonna drop a little bit of glue between this and the oval shaped box. And now let's glue this one in. And it is going to, I'm not gonna worry about putting any glue at the bottom between these boxes because I've left a gap here for this, and there's really not a whole lot of space for it to touch this box. That one is gonna be right here. Gonna drop a little glue in between those, and then glue all over the back. And we can drop some right in here. This kind of keeps everything really solid together. I love that tacky glue dries pretty quickly. It still needs, you know, time to dry properly, but is that the way I had that box, or did I have it standing up? I don't remember. Whoa. So let's put this here. Put a little more, and I'm gonna do my best to just come around here and make contact with that edge. If we can just get enough for it to grab the fabric, and then whatever is extra, like running up into the box and everything, that's gonna run down and touch the fabric. So I think it's gonna hold just fine. And then let's come back with the star. Okay, we've pretty much got everything glued down, and we know we can come back and add some things. Let's lay that down flat. Sort of press everything down and then give it a little bit of time to bond. Now that we have all the boxes in place, it's time to start finding things to go in the boxes. I took a little tape measure and measured the exact dimensions of the two boxes here and here, and found some images that I think really go with the theme. I don't know if I want to drop that in yet. And so there's one. Here's some scrapbook paper that's been cut down. I cut a circle out of some paper to go down in here, and that's kind of easy to do. I just take my sheet of paper. Well, one thing you can do is trace around the box before you glue it. Another thing is just to take your piece of paper, this one's not big enough, but lay it down where you can see the image and sort of make an impression where the circle is. And then it's really easy to cut. And it does not have to be perfect because we're gonna add ink to this and all sorts of things. Then I've gathered a few things that I feel like I wanna glue into the boxes or put on display. We have some creepy things. Here is one of the camellia blossoms from the ground that I've just painted with Mod Podge. We will see if it works. I don't know if it's gonna work or not. And I think I am gonna use this. I haven't glued it down yet, but I really do. I like the way it sits across from this. I just haven't done that yet. I found a large metal star that I like, because, oh my gosh, that fits in there almost perfectly. Wow, it really does. We might be able to. I brought it over and it's got a hook on it. We can hang it up. But I just wanted to show you that I have started to pull things out. There's a really fun little mushroom embellishment. Here's an old doll leg. I have some moss. I have flower petals. And this is when it just starts getting really fun. Before I put this in, I may want to paint the sides. I think I'm going to do that, and I'm going to get out some gold paint and do some painting. Let's see, maybe this one and this one, and maybe this one. So let me go ahead and start on that. And it does not have to be perfect, as you can see. In fact, I can barely see what I'm painting because it's over to the side. And it's okay if it's thick in some spots. I kind of like that look. It's going to give it some texture. We are going to have to let it dry before we start messing with it. This kind of project is so much fun because once you get going and you have a theme, the more you look, the more you're going to find things that will fit in with what you're doing. Whether it's nature or if you're doing something with little trinkets, little miniatures, little things that maybe a child has collected, it can be anything. I did the one with the sewing theme that we had hanging behind the cutting counter when I was at Joann's. That was a lot of fun. Okay, like I said, I know that's not perfect. We're gonna let that dry, and we're gonna be adding a lot of other things, so it's gonna be fine. And let me show you a couple of the shadow boxes I've made in the past. So this is one that's got all sorts of office supplies. This shadow box was it was falling apart. At one point it was complete, and then when I found it, it was in pieces, so I had to glue it back together. You can look for items like that in thrift stores and then put whatever you want to in them. Up here we have one that I made, and I just really love making these. You can see the book pages in the background. There's a piece of wood standing in there, sort of like a column. I know there's a glare on that. Let's see if we can. There. So that was just a metal tin that it's kind of like an open top, and I put that really pretty picture in there. We have a domino hanging up. Just a lot of really pretty things in there. And then if we come inside to the art closet, you can see the one that I made that I took to work at Joann's, and we had it hanging behind the cut counter. Okay, I did let this dry overnight, and I do like the way the gold paint looks in here. We definitely are not done adding paint and all that kind of stuff, but I am gonna go ahead and put a little bit of tacky glue in here, and this one, and this one. I've started cutting out some images to go in here. I think I showed you how you could measure the box. These don't need a whole lot of glue. If they're close to the size of the box, they're going to kind of fit snug in there anyway. Let's see, I think this one is here. So let's just lay that down flat. And then here's this one. That one's very snug in that corner, but it's okay. And I can't remember. I think I cut this one for, not that it matters, but this one's kind of squared up on the side. I don't know if it was pushed up against another box or something, like in the store. I don't know what happened to it, but it seems like it got squished on the sides. So we're gonna put this picture in here. There's that. And I think this one's been kind of hard to get just right because it was a small piece of paper, square or straight on each side, and it was kind of hard to get it cut so that it'll fit. Let's go ahead and try it. Yeah, that's great. I'm still just so surprised that that fits in there so perfectly. I'm tempted to take this tempted to take that ring out and just put this in that. I don't know, but I think it's going to be pretty hanging also. And I noticed this one's curling up a little bit. We definitely want these to lay flat. This flower I painted in the Mod Podge, and I like the way that's turned out. I'm wondering if I want to put this in here. It's kind of pretty. I don't hate it. You know what? We're doing this for fun and for the tutorial and just to be creative, so let's just go ahead and go for it. I'm putting some glue under some of these petals that have gotten loose, and we're just going to add a healthy amount of tacky glue. Have to be careful dragging this thing across here because it'll just pull the petals right off. Okay. Oh, that might be, yeah, I think, okay, I've got an idea for this one. Might seem a little creepy, but I want it to be more like fairyland than anything. And I think I need a little piece of netting for this. Oh, that's strong. I wonder if that's nylon. Cut just a little piece of netting, and I'm going to glue that inside of here to hang like a curtain. Now sometimes, as you've seen on the other shadow boxes, I will use something clear like a plastic or something that you can see through, but this is going to be just a little different. I want that netting to hang down, and I might want one more piece. kind of a ratty piece hanging down. Not sure if we can even see that. Yeah, that's a little better. I don't know if you can see it, but let's let that sit there and dry. And even though this scene is a little bit dark, if you will, I think we're going to put a little bit of white paint in there to brighten up the walls so that we can see it reflects light. I see we've got a staple showing over there, so we'll have to figure out a way to cover that up. I'm not worried about it. We may even take it out. I don't know that we'll need it. I just wanted to turn the camera back on briefly and show you how I'm going to hang this. I punched holes in the top corners using a crocodile. Thank you so much. You know who you are. Thank you. I really, really appreciate it. In the past, though, I have used an awl to go through, and then you just have to work with it to, you know, enlarge the hole that you make so that you can fit your cord through. I'm using sort of a big cord for this. I think this material fits the boxes and the theme. And I did use some wax on this heavy cord. I got, you know, quite a bit on there, not too much. You don't want it clumping up so it won't go through, but it really does help those ends to be able to go through the opening. See, it made that very easy to pull through. Ah, there goes a little baby spider. Good morning. It's right there. So I am going to be tying knots in the front so that it can't slip back through, and I think that'll be a really pretty way to hang this. I also wanted to show you, this is a shelf back here where I have all sorts of odds and ends that I find and purchase when I'm out shopping. I love to collect rusty wire, all sorts of trinkets. I have just trays and trays of odd and unusual things. Drawers of things all over here. You never know when you're going to find something that will later be perfect. I'm going to try to wire this to the front. Isn't that awesome? Not sure yet what I'm going to put in there. So I have had fun today in the yard, cleaning around the workshop and going to the recycle center and claiming some really bright bottles that I washed up. And I'm so excited. I found all of these metal posts. Haha, look at my shadow right there. Hello. I found all of these metal posts at the scrap exchange the other day, and I knew they would be fun for something. I don't know that I'm going to leave these exact pieces of wood in here, but I love that the metal posts have these holes in them. I know I digress, but the reason I'm showing you all this is that I brought the Shadowbox out to hang on the door in the sunshine so that hopefully you can really see it. And this way it is hanging up and not laying down flat where, you know, some things might fall over. Most everything is attached. You can see in there, there's an antique baby doll leg. There's the netting we put in and the mushroom back there. This box has a little clay impression of a face. One of you sent me that. I don't, Carolyn, was it you? I apologize that I can't remember. So many of you have sent me beautiful things. And then in here, I love the way this turned out. I dehydrated a mushroom today from the yard and it looks like it's fallen over a little bit, but that's okay with me. We've got some netting in there. Just a lot of beautiful things. There is more that I can do to this. but I wanted to show you what it looks like right now. And the more you add, the more you can continue to add, if that makes sense. I had this metal file folder and I just cut the tab off, and I believe it says Curious on one side and Curiosity on the other side. So we could actually take a little chain and hang it over here with a little charm. There's a lot of rusty wire that's been incorporated all throughout here, where I wired this really cool glass lens to the front of that box. And remember, all this is just a bunch of boxes that we're going to go in the recycle. Old jewelry boxes, gift boxes, things like that. This was some sort of bracket, or not a bracket, but like, I don't know what you call that, but I used my awl to just go right through every layer of fabric and cardboard and put a brad through that. And then the way this is hanging up, it had a hole in it, and I just used the awl to go through every layer of fabric and paper, and that is some of the rusty wire that I've just wired through there to hold it. This jar actually has some St. John's wort that was dried, and I just put the label on there. So I will be taking this inside, either the workshop or the house, to do something with it. I'm not sure where I'm gonna put it yet, but I do love it. I love the way it turned out. And several of you have asked how I do the shadow boxes. This is how, and you can see where this sort of rope twine, I just pushed it through, tied it in the front, and it holds really well. And on the back you can see, it's not the prettiest, but you can see where the fabric wrapped around, and we glued it and stapled it. I've got tape holding down the wire that I pushed through. There's the back of the brad. And then here we are back in the workshop where it's standing on the desk. I have had so much fun working on this. Most everything is put in with tacky glue, but there are some things that I added a little bit of hot glue to, like the butterfly here and this piece of shell, and I did not put much. There's a little bit on the bottle of St. John's wort, and then we have baby's breath, and I just love this. I know there's a glare there. This makes you stop with intention to try to figure out what is in here. I really appreciate everyone watching and being here, and I will be back really soon with some junk journaling. Bye for now.